Good afternoon and welcome to Galactic Soul Healing. I have been asked by Spirit to do a spread today on this beautiful topic here, which I'm really happy to be doing. So we're going to be looking at, if you've got a pen, you might want to jot this down because I'm aware that this is probably not very clear on your screen. Apologise for that. I will have to address that issue at some stage. So the title is Oracle Messages from Celtic God and Goddess Energies. Yeah. And what we're looking at in the centre here is to do with lifestyle changes and processes. It's going to be about with respect to our spiritual aspects, our mental aspect, our emotional aspect, and our physical aspect. So it's going to be an oracle reading for humanity as a collective. These are the cards we're going to be using. And so we have the Mists of Avalon by Rose Insera. Okay. I've just bought these recently. And Cosmic Tarot by Norbert Losch. Gods and Titans by Stacey DeMarco, and The Animal Dreaming Oracle by Scott Alexander King. Now, there's I'll try and keep the preamble brief. So basically, the Celtic gods and goddesses currently have multidimensional aspects in various galactic consciousnesses, out there. But they've kind of told me that they're working together along with other galactic consciousness collectives. They're all working together for the highest good of humanity. That, and also in a way that is in alignment with the law of light, the law of love, and the law of love, to help bring about peace, harmony, and balance on the earth and within humanity as well. So it's for the earth and humanity living here. And they wanted to share some really practical messages that will help to make it easier for during this time of transition and change. That many on Earth, and probably pretty much nearly everyone, will be participating in varying degrees and at different times and at different in different stages and at different depths. So we had done another reading which was to do with return to your magical heart. So they're saying that along with the return to the magical heart, there will be a return to a more grounded and centered way of being, which we have just previously done a whole spread on grounding and centering messages from other consciousnesses. So it's kind of like a bit of a flow on. We've got the magic heart, the grounding and centering, and now they're saying it's kind of going to be a lifestyle thing. So it's saying, and they've also alluded to, we won't go into that, but essentially we will ultimately, but it was just a little note that I put there, but we're going to deal with. And it's pertaining to spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical aspects of humans. So I'm just going to get you to watch me shuffle and deal. Let's do the bigger ones first. So I've been wanting to do this. This spread has been in the wings for a while. Particularly because I was drawn to obtained for myself a deck of Celtic cards, Celtic Oracle cards. That was just a thing from something else. And they've it's been just a really strong thing with me lately. I think it's because of the grounding and centering. And then it was just one of my spirit guides is like a Celtic goddess, and the thing is, she's just been really assisting me lately in a lot of ways, and I'm just really grateful for that. So I'm just going to cut the deck as we go, and it just came through really strongly today. I've organised my timetable so that I can do these oracle readings a couple of days of my week, and I just really wanted to I felt that there was going to be something along in this theme happening today, and so we just like to really call in those Celtic gods and goddesses to assist us with this reading and the receiving and giving of the information, but also any other ascended masters, light beings, and archangels who would like to assist in this would be really great as well. Alright, let's cut this one. I'll deal them in a minute. Cosmic Tarot. Oops. Okay. Briefly, right. There's just some beautiful things coming through lately, just with these consciousnesses, and I think there are many other people that are kind of resonant with this Celtic thing. So we're nearly there. So this is the Myths of Avalon. This is obviously the Myths of Avalon is a place. I think it's mythical. It could be real. Now you'll have to bear with me with this because with this deck we may need to consult the book. However, I have been doing a little bit of reading, and it just looks fantastic. Some of the images in here are really beautiful. So I'm just going to try and do I am not an expert shuffler, but hey, that wasn't too bad. Let's just do that again. Okay. We are about to cut this deck right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. It is cut. Now, we'll put down Gods and Titans. So we're going to go spiritual on your top screen. To the left we've got mental, then we have physical at the bottom here, and emotional on the side. Okay, 1, 2. And I really love these. I've got a little Celtic symbol there, quite cool. And okay, we have just to refresh, if you didn't jot this down already, you might do this and jot it down. Spiritual, mental, physical and emotional. We have four stacks. It's going to be all to do with the lifestyle changes and processes that humanity will be. I guess they're actually wanting me to say that these messages are not intended to shock or impel or things like that. It's more like they're kind of saying to just increase your awareness, try and shift your focus a little bit to what they're saying, and just try and gradually over time start to incorporate things, because they're kind of saying now definitely is that if you can start making some of these changes gradually over time, it will be much easier for when down the track they're actually trying to say that it's better to make gradual changes now, start making gradual changes, than having to make no changes and then down the track having a huge shock in terms of, okay, things are now quite different and we're not even prepared for it, and we haven't been working towards this because no one told us that this was going to happen. It's that kind of thing. It's not that anything really bad is going to happen, it's that things will just be different, but it may be perceived as bad because it will be, it will be more of a shock for those people that are not prepared. That's kind of what they're saying. And yeah, let's continue. So yeah, they're just really saying to me for people to just gradually try and take some of this on board, and just kind of even mentally visualize or try and project your imagination and your thoughts and feelings in ways that can help you as well, like in a meditation. Just kind of do things like that. Anyway, let's start. Right, because I know you guys just want to see the cards, and so do I. Actually, we're going to finish with spiritual. We're going to start with let's start with physical. Okay, we're going to start with physical. And I'm just going to pull this a little bit closer. So this is pertaining to the physical. So it's going to be to do with the lifestyle changes and the processes that are involved in this change. Okay, we'll look at these one by one. So this is Vishnu Balance, okay, which is a really awesome card. And he looks quite physical there, isn't he? And we have Mother Earth Turtle, which is really another beautiful one. We have Priestess of Avalon. The little words around here say divine inspiration, ancient knowledge, healing, and initiation. Okay, and this one here is the star. Now, the thing that I'm getting from this is that these two things here are pretty connected. Physically, we did mention before about grounding and centering, but this is Mother Earth. Okay, so they're saying that physically, and even with our lifestyle, it's not that we're going to lose our houses as such, but they're kind of saying that we kind of need to start to simplify, start being, start getting more connected to the earth, and start to kind of really simplify our lifestyles. Because Mother Earth helps with grounding and centering. Okay, and this is really beautiful here as well. That's this woman here is actually out in nature. She's connecting to animals, okay, but she's very connected, or a part of the cosmic order of things. What's going on here? Okay, also have the beautiful elements here of water, earth. Okay, there is sky, and there's a star there, and I think that might be another planet. I don't know if it's the moon, but it's almost like, because there's a star on her head as well, it's almost like the soul star, that crown chakra is kind of activated. Okay, and it's almost like, she's almost like a very galactic kind of human. And I'm not saying just because she's naked doesn't mean that in the future everyone will be naked galactic humans. That's not necessarily what it's about. It's just saying that the interconnectedness and the peace and tranquility there, okay, it's like it's like a galactic human, but there needs to be earth connection for us to start to really kind of activate our soul star chakra, our crown chakra, and our light body. Okay, they are definitely connected. This one is now that says Priestess of Avalon. I believe that's Morgan Le Fay, and because I've researched this deck a little bit, and these are other priestesses or people participating in the either the ritual or the gathering there. Okay. The other thing too this suggests is ritual, and they're obviously outside. I mean, there's a moon there. Okay. But it's also alluding to the fact that in our lifestyles, that these the Celtic gods and goddesses are actually sort of saying to us that in terms of sacred practice, because a priestess has to do with spirit connection. Okay, in terms of a spiritual practice, but also it's actually supposed to be pertaining to the physical. That part of what you do physically needs to be almost all everything that you do physically. There is a spiritual meaning behind it, and you can make everything physical, or every action that you do can be a ritual, because you can do it with the mindset of being connected to source, being grateful, and also just really activating that heart space in yourself. Okay, doing everything with love. Okay, whatever physical action it is. This one here is about, definitely, it's like a beautiful whole-souled physical connection to nature and cosmos here. It's beautiful balance. And guess what we have here? Isn't that fascinating? And this is the physical connection to the earth, which is sort of saying that in terms of your physical health, to avail yourself or utilize the earth energies, it's going to be really good for your physical body, but it also will help you really to start activating your cosmic connection. But isn't this fantastic? Like, I cannot believe that. Look, we have a man and a woman, right? It's a beautiful balance of masculine and feminine, which, if we're talking physical, we did do a reading a while back, but it's sort of to do with our divine masculine aspect and our divine feminine aspect, really activating that through the physical. So, for instance, Vishnu here, that's obviously quite a masculine image, but he is, it's like action-based, outward action, whereas the divine feminine is more about inward focus. So this can be referring to things like your nutrition, what you're taking in, your proper hydration. It's beautiful that there's water there, because hydration is really important. If you find yourself drinking more water lately, that's fine, don't worry. Okay, because as we cleanse our physical and cleanse our field, the water acts like a beautiful flushing out of things. But it also helps you if you're actually ascending and going into higher consciousness states and activating your light body. Okay, and also helps your energy body and a whole lot of other things. It helps your physical form to ascend as well into high frequency. Vishnu balance. Yeah, so that's just awesome, isn't it? Because that stance is almost a little bit like either a Tai Chi, or yoga, or Qigong type of stance. And that is actually really good for even just doing martial art, not necessarily the combat style, but just doing martial art on your own for yourself, okay? Or you could do a class or whatever. It is actually a really good way to balance mind, body, and spirit, because there's physical discipline, okay, and there's mental focus that's required, okay, and then spiritually, because you feel stronger and more centered in yourself, that actually has implications for your spiritual life, because it means that it flows on that you can have a little bit more focus. Okay, and as we go on, I think there's going to be some stuff on what we're going to need to focus on as well. So this is also a representation, a symbolic representation of the balance between mind and body. I mean, we are kind of talking about the physical specifically, but isn't this just two really beautiful physical images? And and the Celtic. Let's go back to the Celtic goddess here, because priestess, because there's a word here. It says healing. That word up there is healing. Okay. So physically, we really have to. It's almost like she's saying, everyone needs to hold themselves as if they are going through physical healing. Because when we go through ascension, we are healing a lot of things physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It is a big healing process. And this is why we need to be doing things with care, with sacred intent and feeling. The other words here were initiation, ancient knowledge, and divine inspiration. So the ancient knowledge, I think for this reading, we're kind of referring to, it's not just Celtic, but it goes way back further even. A lot of the Celtic practices were actually probably quite shamanic. Okay. And that simply means that it also, our healing also incorporates our energy body, and also the energy of the environment, the energy of nature, the energy of animals, even the energy of our thoughts, the energy of our feelings, okay, and the energy that's within our body, and also the energy of our spirit. What is the purpose of our spirit? In what way do we want to direct our spiritual energy? Okay, now she actually has a bowl there, and there's some candles, and there's also a little, that would probably be a herb. There are some beautiful little items here. They look almost like earrings, and there's a little necklace or a little, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little, like either a pendant or something like that. Now the other thing too is that's really beautifully alluding to, that even little things like that can have a lot of meaning for yourself. Right, and that might be something you wear, and this here is almost like something that you would put, that you might eat. So it might be something that we, put into your, or it might be a herb that you burn for meditation. Not like maybe it's sage, white sage, or something like that. This could be, be something you wear, which is, if you're wearing it on your body, okay, we're pertaining to the physical. And things like crystals can be really helpful as well, because they have energy, special energies about them. So, that's really awesome. And we've got the earth connection, and it's just very healing, and the initiation. So, there's some beautiful images there, and I really like how a lot of it's blue. Look at this. I think even the shell on that turtle is blue. So blue is also a very calming colour. Okay, it's the colour of the sky when it's not cloudy, and it's the colour of the sea. Okay, so in terms of physical, if you want to, relax your physical body, blue is a really good colour. It's very calming, okay? Very chill kind of colour. So that's a little thing, slipping the Arcturian slipping in there now, is that colour therapy can assist you with your physical body, and that can also have to do with the colour of clothes that you wear. Okay, the colour of the decorations of the furnishings in your house, the colour of your cushions, of your your bedding, your curtains, all of that interior stuff in your house. So colour is actually really important for the physical body as well. But I just really love how that's in there. That's really about mind-body balance. But it's also there's a lot of strength involved in that too. So it's almost suggesting that that people are going to be a bit more active. Is one of the lifestyle changes, and now they're actually just suggesting that in there to me now, is that yes, people are going to, as part of the lifestyle change, it is a good idea to start over time just becoming gradually more physically active. Okay, they're not saying go out and do 2 hours at the gym every day. That's not what they're saying. Okay, you can use your discretion on that. It's just incorporate a little bit more of a walk, do a little bit more maybe in the garden, and we also need to take more care of our physical. Okay, more care of the physical, there's going to be an increased awareness of this light body. Okay, and there's going to be also, because of this earth thing, there's going to be more home-based activities, okay, and less travelling around, driving around like a mad thing. Okay, if you can gradually start to kind of reduce that, and just sort of be aware that it's good practice for your mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being to try to balance the amount of time that you drive around crazily doing all sorts of things in a week. Try and balance that with some time of contented activity, and they're trying to say, have at least maybe 1 or 2 days where you don't need to get in your car and drive around. It's pretty hard to do that, I get that, but they're kind of saying in terms of grounding, the less that we're travelling around, okay, the better it is for us ultimately, and it's going to be a gradual thing, isn't it? Because if you're like me, like if I'm home more than X number of days, I start to go a bit stir crazy, and I'm just like, I've just got to get in my car and go see a friend or go out or something. Although admittedly we drive around a bit here, but we try and keep everything local. So that's something else you can do, is you try and keep most of your activities kind of within the 10-12k zone, so your driving's not too far. You don't have to drive for lengthy periods. Okay, that's another good way to do it. So it means you can still be really active and doing different things. Before I did the spread, I did a centering meditation, and they just sort of hit me with all this information that they wanted to share that came through, but I actually wanted to be talking about it through the cards. So hence I'm just looking at this is all the information they gave me, like all those lists, and I'm just like, wow, this is why I'm a little bit flabbergasted at the moment. There's all this stuff I've got to cover. But yeah, so physically, that's it. And I'm pretty sure I've covered everything on the list as well. It's just the thing about people really need to start becoming more physically active. But the other thing they have just put in there too is that the earth is actually really good for growing food. So they also suggest that if you have got a space in your yard, that if you can, just start gradually to just introduce growing some herbs, veggies or fruit, or any combination of those, and just kind of get that feel of what it's like to grow some of your own food and just use it straight to the kitchen. Just kind of get that little connection happening. You don't have to do a great big huge venture. It might be just that you've got one or two biggish pots out the back, and you start growing just some herbs. Okay, they're pretty easy to grow. You can get some quite hardy ones. And just use those in your cooking, because it adds a little bit of a ritual to it. It also helps you to connect with the earth and then have that lovely link in to your kitchen and your cooking. Okay, and cooking is another thing that they're sort of saying is really lovely to do. And wow, this is also alluding to cooking, even though she's not probably cooking right there. But can you see that bowl and this herb here? They're kind of suggesting to me now, yes, encourage everyone to try and cook more at home. If you're used to going out a lot of nights of the week, you obviously don't have to start cooking every night of the week. They're just saying, just start to kind of incorporate it. Okay, if you're not already doing that, just start to incorporate it. So these are also really beautiful grounding activities too, all of these things. Even if you're physically doing housework, cleaning your house, that's actually grounding. Depending on your mindset, if you're really under the pump and busy and stuff like that, it cannot feel grounding. It just feels like a pain in the ass thing that you've got to do. Okay, but if you can somehow ground and earth yourself first, and then get into a really centered space in yourself and go, okay, I've had a bit of a busy time doing such and such, I've had my walk or whatever, now I feel like I can just be in a good frame of mind to do my grounding housework, okay, and do it with love. So I think that's it for physical. Just more care of the physical and increased awareness of your energy body and light body, which was this one here as well. And I think they're all awesome, those cards, and they're all really lovely. Okay, let's proceed now to the physical, because we had an illusion there alluding to Vishnu, mind body balance. We're going to go mental next. We're not going to go mental, but we're going to pick up the mental stack, which is to do with your thoughts and feelings. And what are the lifestyle changes and processes that we're going to go through mentally? Okay, what are we going to be going through mentally in terms of changes? Okay, we'll look at these individually. First one we have is Ganesha, obstacles. Wow. I didn't know I was going to be using the Gods and Titans cards, but I was directed to use them, and wow, that's pretty awesome. Right, Emu, endurance. We'll come back to them in a minute. We have here sacred union. The words around here are fertility, vitality, growth, and sexuality. The one that I'm going to pull out of there that's most relevant for mental is probably growth. Okay. But we could actually touch on vitality and sexuality probably. Yeah, we'll come back to that one. Now here we have, let me just put that around this way. The sun, which is a little child out in the sunlight. Awesome. Now, let's look at Ganesha again, because on the first thing on my list as I did my meditation on this topic was, I cannot believe this is the synchronicity of this, was literally they said to me that mentally a lot of the changes, a lot of the processes that we're going through mentally is this letting go of basically patterns of thinking that we've kind of developed from past things that have happened to us, but they're patterns of thinking that are not terribly useful, not terribly beneficial. Not saying all patterns of thinking are like this. These are the ones that are causing us problems and that are actually literally obstacles. They are inner obstacles to us developing ourselves and they are limiting our growth. Okay? Limiting our growth mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and maybe physically as well. Because the way that you think can affect your connection to your physical body, and it can also affect what you do or you don't do with your physical body. Okay. So, yeah. It's saying that there's going to be this letting go of dysfunctional ways of thinking, which is kind of a good thing. But, it can also be a bit daunting for people because they're a little bit like, well, I've got enough to deal with, let alone releasing all that. But gradually, over time. Okay? Let's look at this one. So the endurance and mental endurance, of course, is just that real ability to just stick with it. And of course, if you are actually addressing, a little bit of this head on, it does take a little bit of endurance to work through it. A bit of perseverance is another word we could use there. Okay. Because we have definitely been through a lot very recently, and basically, if you're incarnated on Earth at this time at any age, okay, it's hugely challenging mentally, hugely. And the other thing is that just on that note of endurance and obstacles, is that another change that when we talk about is these over time, people are going to need to basically try and do less thinking and more doing. So the other thing that goes along with that is the little thing called the internet. Okay. Now, they've kind of said to me that it's a good idea to just occasionally, like at the moment, just kind of go into the mindset of, if the internet was not around, if the internet was not here, as it was not here, well, I don't know how many years ago it sort of came on board more so, but if it wasn't around, what would you be doing? What would you like to do? What kinds of things do you enjoy other than the internet? Because they're kind of been alluding to this idea that we do really need to, in our consciousness, start preparing for, they're not sure when it will be. So the timing of this is not certain. But they're really just saying that everyone has become quite used to the internet. But before it came along, people still did function. They were still walking around and breathing and relating to other people and participating in life, feeling and thinking and doing lots of things, and occupied. So they're kind of alluding us to, basically, if we can endure it, is to just start to ask ourselves this question and just say, if the internet wasn't there, what would we be doing? And also, how necessary is it really? Like, just recently, obviously, if you're a young child and you've grown up with the internet, okay, it's very ingrained deeply in subconscious that it is an essential and very important part of life. Okay. Simply because of the degree to which society has become immersed in it. Okay. But they're also kind of saying that that the sometimes the patterns of thinking they're saying they're sort of referring to the ways in which people think because of the extent to which they are involved with the internet. Their patterns of thinking have kind of become a bit dysfunctional because of the internet. There's some connection there. I'm just having trouble kind of elucidating it, but they're saying there's a connection between the patterns of thinking and the ways in which people think and the internet. So I don't know, that's just a couple of things that you might like to meditate on. So it might just simply be that okay, if the internet wasn't around, what would I be thinking about? Okay. And treating that with a bit of seriousness. Like, you can joke about it, I suppose. But yeah. So they're really just saying that we really need to start just preparing ourselves for this thing about, ultimately down the track, they're not sure when, but the internet may well not be around. Okay. And then they're also saying to me that, that because of the ways in which we will evolve mentally, emotionally and spiritually, there ultimately won't be so much of a need for it, is what they're just saying to me. Because we'll basically evolve out of needing it. There won't be a need for it, ultimately. And they're also saying that we also need to start learning deep conscious relaxation. This will help connection into nature. Which was just basically centering and grounding. Okay. Connecting yourself to source and nature and feeling that center in your heart space as if you were a child. Okay, it's going to be really centering. But that was also talking about learning how then to really deeply consciously relax. Say if you're doing a meditation, you're lying down, just practice deep conscious relaxation, okay, and listen to some music, which might help. You choose your own music, because that will help to calm the mind, which will help you to release any obstacles, and it will help you with your awareness, because you can't become aware of the obstacles sometimes until you quieten your mind and start trying to become really discerning about what's going on in your lifestyle. Okay, what's going on in your life, what's going on in your daily thinking patterns. Okay, and your relating patterns to others, and also your emotional states. Okay. So in terms of, there's also, another lifestyle change that they're suggesting in there is that, well, it's not a change, it's more like a process that will be evolving naturally, and that is that our, if we can do the meditation and deep conscious relaxation, our perceptive powers will increase. So basically, we will be able to more easily move up into a super consciousness state, a more evolved state, if we can do some meditation, release any obstacles, okay, and obviously that's going to take some endurance, and just really center ourselves. Okay, that's really going to help our mental focus and also our perceptive powers. Okay, let's look at this little card here. So I'm just quickly checking my list. The positive thing was that, we're going to be evolving mentally, but we do need to shift through letting go of the negative things first, okay, and learning how to relax, conscious relaxation. And this one was alluding to vitality, fertility, growth, and sexuality. So the other really beautiful thing, which is a direct flow on now, is that one of the things that happens when people go into over-intellectualization, okay, and maybe, extensive dealings with the internet, in doing research or anything on there, and we know that a lot more people now are having a lot more screen time, but sometimes it can actually cause other parts of your being to shut down. And I'm literally talking about sexuality. I'm talking about that feeling really vital energy, that really physical vital energy. So sexuality, fertility, vitality, and growth. So it's kind of a backwards what they're alluding to is backwards, because what they're saying is that if we can relax more, we center more, understand our perceptive powers, we experience more mental focus and growth, okay, and because we are able to calm our minds more, we will naturally feel more vital. We'll have more energy because we won't be so exhausted from looking at screens for so long, and we won't be so stressed, okay, because we'll have a better balance, okay, of intellectual and physical, right? But the other thing that comes on with that is is fertility and the sexuality, because it's probably easier these days for people to not be in a relationship, because they can, in a physical human relationship relating, because they can quite easily be in a relationship with the internet. And I'm not talking I'm not talking about pornography necessarily. I'm talking about how, when you use the internet, it can really, you can tap into whatever you're interested in, and it can really, help you out, okay, which is a lovely thing. But the other side to that, when you think about it, it's helping us at the moment. I understand that. It is a bit of it's a help, and then it's a hindrance. I think it's to do with this balance that Vishnu is just mentioning to us, is that while it can be extremely personalized, okay, the other energetic reality that's actually happening there is that it is literally a person having a relationship with a screen. Okay, that is literally what is happening. Or it's to do with you helping to have a better relationship with yourself to find out what it is that you need to know in order to evolve. But then the next stage really is to then learn how to balance that, like have times of not using your screen and internet, so that you can start to feel physically vital rather than being sedentary. You need to activate physical vital things, okay? Go out and socialise, with men and women and, everyone, families or whatever. Start kind of activating your social, like your sexuality, like what is that you're interested in, which is a very whole-souled thing, okay? And ultimately, I guess fertility. If you're looking for a relationship and you're looking to have children, well, obviously you would experience more fertility. Basically, the healthier and more balanced you are, the more able you are to be in a relationship. Okay, because basically, if you're a screen addict and you're very withdrawn, it becomes very scary even to just go and talk to people. Okay, that doesn't really do anything for your sexuality, okay, and it probably doesn't really help your vitality either, okay, if you can't even put yourself in front of someone else, well, your fertility's not happening. So really, this is going on side with the mental to really just elude us. It's alluding to when these. So we have this is this beautiful simplicity card. This is the balanced mind that's sort of free of the troubles and free of the over-intellectualization, free of the mental addiction of things, okay? Free of mental addiction of internet and things like that. It's not just internet, it's screen time, okay? Whatever. Which I think a lot of people suffer from. And here we have, and this is the obstacle card. This is the hard yakka. But this is Ganesh. Ganesha is actually an energy entity that you can call on for help. Okay, to help release the obstacles, the negative things, your negative thought patterns that are not helping you. Okay, and when you release some of those, you start to experience, I could say, more of that, more of this. Okay, which really, when you think about it, that is physical intimacy. That doesn't have to be kissing. That could be talking, and it doesn't have to be man and woman. It can be like, with a friend or whatever. In terms of just relating, or it's an intimacy. It's human intimacy. Okay, which I think I've just realised now. This is what it's saying, is that the obstacles that we need to overcome, that are currently preventing us from experiencing human intimacy, okay, are important because, like I said, the internet, when I did my meditation, they was telling me something was very strong about the internet, and it was really like, the internet is, it has been worshipped. But in terms of, this is why they're sort of saying that people need to start preparing for it ultimately not being around. But like we said, our consciousness will evolve so we don't need it. But they're saying if you can start doing some of this stuff, like release your mental obstacles, do some meditation in nature, center yourself, deep conscious relaxation. Okay. And obviously it's not going to be easy, but if you start doing it gradually, it's going to be easier. Okay, it's going to be easier if you can start doing some of that. It's not just, it's even patterns of mental activity, negative patterns of mental activity. So if you know that you have a screen addiction, okay, And that in order for you to prepare and to become more grounded and centered, you may need to start releasing your hold on that addiction. Which I know does not sound like it would be easy, or that even it might not be something that you even want to do. But that's up to you. But it might just mean that, a couple of times a week, you just stop, hop off there, just go outside and just entertain the idea of like, what would I be doing if this wasn't around? Honestly. And if you come up with a complete blank, okay, I suggest go out in nature. You're going to have to do a bit of alone time. Think about when you were a child. And just really kind of find something that you do like to do, that you can put your mind on, and just start doing some of that as well. Okay? It's not like people have to go completely cold turkey in order to release the hold that something has on them. Okay, you can be a friend to yourself. You can even enter into an intimate conversation with yourself to go, you know what? This is not really actually making me happy. I think I could be happier than what I am. And I'd really like to work towards having that happiness. It's not just happiness about having sex with someone. That's not what this is saying. Okay, it's a symbol of intimacy. And look at this. This is the other thing I love about these Celtic cards. There is nature around here. Okay, which is just awesome. There's nature around that little boy or girl there, that child. There's even a little bird on there, so she's looking at birds. And it's just beautiful. I mean, even if you get nothing from this other than the fact that, for your mental well-being, to establish a bit of nature connection and give yourself some respite from a lot of mental patterns that are really currently forms of obstacles that are really stopping you from being happy, okay, then it's worth looking at. Now, I think we're going to let that go there for now. So it's just amazing there's obstacles are in there. Like mental obstacles is what that is. This is the one about deep conscious relaxation, because it's to do with simplicity, and that's almost the state that you want to be feeling like you want to aim for, okay, in a meditation. This one's definitely about the richness of experience that you can have, that's sort of on the other extreme from over-intellectualization and over-mental activity, which can put you into ungroundedness, confusion, frustration, and not feeling centered and focused. Okay, this is your centering and focusing. This is the rewards, which is not just having sex. Okay, it's being intimate with yourself, more intimate with your own soul and with others. Okay, it's an intimacy card, but that's also about your perceptive powers, because the other thing here is that this being here, it literally has that growing up, which is just awesome. Like, that's growth, which, see, it's evolvement. It's an evolving. This is a spiritual evolving, and from your mental choice of what your mind is doing. Okay, and this is the endurance it's going to take for you to start kind of preparing yourself for when, and we don't know when, but the internet may well not be around. This is why we really have to return. It's a return back to earth-based, centered, soulful, more humanly intimate, more just more appreciative Okay, I mean, there will always be some obstacles to some extent to work through and overcome. But at the moment, it's a very mental obstacles. It's very mental things that we've got to work through. You know, later on down the track, it might be something else. It might be, you know, there might be spiritual obstacles, or there might be physical, or, you know, emotional, whatever. But yeah, let's put that down there for now. It is Thursday today. I apologise. I am slightly on the fatigued side, but let us continue. We are going emotional now because there's a direct link between emotional. I'm just going to have some ginger tea. A minute. And it's gone cold. Oh my god. Now, I just really hope I'm conveying these messages the way they want me to convey them. I just heard this it was just really strong this morning to do this. Now, this is the emotional side. So we have Garuda travel, and I think that's alluding to the metaphor of going to different places and seeing new things, which is on the emotional front. It's a little bit like we're going to be experiencing some new emotions, and we're going to be going, you know, things are going to be happening that we're just going to be going, wow. Emotionally, it's going to be, you know, maybe a bit of a roller coaster. So yeah, lifestyle changes. Yeah, addiction was another thing that was coming through on here in terms of processes. The releasing of addiction processes. This is healing. Oh my God. Emotional healing. That is so bang on. Isn't that just bang on in terms of releasing obstacles as well we just had? So mentally, we're going to be releasing our inner obstacles, and emotionally, we're going to be going through some healing. And that is exactly this card here that we had, Priestess of Avalon. This word up here is healing. We need to be holding ourselves emotionally as if we are going through emotional healing, which is a very vulnerable, you know, delicate state to be in. Oh, I just had that one. Let's go with this one. So emotionally, wow. So that is the Five of Pentacles. Now, that has to do with change that involves financial, either financial loss or decrease in finances. Okay, but it also has that implication here of the emotional impact of a decrease in financial income. And I think a lot of people might be experiencing this. But they're even saying, as in terms of a lifestyle change or process, is that this is something that it's not necessarily that everyone will be destitutely poor. It might even be saying that just overall globally, people will have less income. But all is not lost because we have community. Okay? And they're just saying also to prepare for this, and I think some people are already preparing, is that, for instance, you know, I mean, if you have got a really big mortgage, it may be a good idea to downsize. I mean, obviously, I can't really legitimately give advice like that, I realise. But in terms of just preparing and simplifying your life, if you are going through the motions to pay off a really big mortgage, okay, just start to entertain the idea of like, well, if I downsized and I only had to pay X amount on my mortgage per month, you know, how would that affect my lifestyle? How would that affect how I feel? How would that affect the number of hours I would have to work? How would that affect the time I could spend with my family? You know, all this sort of other stuff, right? But you know, I mean, admittedly, if you sell your house, someone else is going to buy it, right? I get that. And then they're in the same boat, aren't they? So that's sort of alluding to, and it's really interesting, that it's the emotional effects. But the other thing they're just referring to me to say is that people may have gotten used to having a certain income which gives them a certain feeling. Okay. But they're saying that the level of income does not have to be a determinant of the feeling. So while people may currently believe that the two are synonymous, they're actually saying that one of the changes, the processes that people need to go through is to kind of realise that the two are mutually exclusive. So, and it also filters into the mental, the thoughts. Okay. That, for instance, and they're just saying to me now, some of the poorest countries on the earth, admittedly, if they're ravaged by disease, they're not going to be feeling that happy. But for instance, if they're disease free, okay, and they have communities, right, some of the poorest people on earth, literally like this, are actually the happiest people. But it's really only the people that are used to being rich that all of a sudden have very little, that they become emotionally down. It's a form of delusion, they're saying to me. And yeah, this is they're saying also is part of the endurance. Okay, that people will need to really find means and ways to make do with less money. Okay, so for those of us that are not rich, that have had pretty much bare bones income, people like that will probably have a little bit of an easier time of it. Because, for instance, if you're a really big wage earner and your income goes bang right down to a quarter of that, okay, that's going to be a lot harder for you to cope with. But for instance, some people are actually living on that quarter of income already. You might have a family up here with a massive income, and then you've got a family down here that's on a really low income. Right, whereas the people here that drops down to there, they could be thinking, oh, it's the end of the world. But in actual fact, there are a lot of people that have been living on that low income forever, and they're actually quite happy. Okay? So, then it becomes back to philosophy, doesn't it? Well, money can buy options. It can increase your choices in life. It can increase your quality of life, perhaps. But she's saying to me, in the future, that one of the changes is going to really be about the quality of life is not going to be affected so much by money as by the quality of the relationships that you have with your family, your friends, and your people, the other people that you associate with, that you might work with. And this is another thing that they said to me on the list that I was meditating before, is that emotionally, one of the changes is that there's going to be more focus on creating, for people to create more, creating functional relating with others. So there's going to be more connection. My words are just not coming out smoothly today, I think, because there's a lot going on and I'm getting a lot of stuff in my head, and it's like the connection's just not there. But I feel like there's so much that I need to say that's not coming out properly. Oh. So there's going to be more focus on, because there's going to be less focus on acquiring lots of money and possessions and things, okay, we will have more time to focus on the quality of our connections with others and really releasing the obstacles that are preventing those quality relationships, okay, and just really focusing on more connection. Despite the money being less, the income being less. And recently with COVID, obviously, I think everyone, well, there has probably been some income drops in people and families and people, right? And obviously there's people that have contracted the disease as well, and it's just completely unjust. I don't really understand why that's happened, but so let's go to this one. So it's really talking about the emotional impact of financial loss or lower income, but the flip side of that is that they're saying to create that one of the lifestyle changes is that will be more involvement. You will be involved more with people, provided we can step off of the screen, which we also need to be doing, which is what they're saying. Which, when you think about it, it sort of makes sense. That if you can start making connections with others and creating them more functionally, if the internet does not, when it disappears, you will have a fallback, okay, which will be the people that you're surrounded with, which was how it was in the ancient times, because there wasn't internet back then. And guess what they focused on? Their relationships with others and their connections and their roles and what they did. Okay, although we get that, there were wars and things like that. We're not saying that ideally there's going to be a return to wars. Now here we have the Mists of Avalon, which I may read that one from the book. It says illusion, enchantment, transformation, and boundary. The Isle of Avalon, I believe, is to do with a journey back to yourself. So it's a bit of a soul journey, this card. It's interesting that it's appeared in the emotion thing, in the emotional stack. And there's also a last little point there that I need to cover that was on the list, is to do with intuition. So our sensing and our feeling, our intuition, is going to be increasing. And this is why it also increases our connection to spirit and also our connection to our higher self. So this is what this card is here, I believe, is it's about journeying back to the higher self, and this is going to be accompanied by a heightening of our intuition, an increasing of our ability to use our intuitive skills and our potentials. And that's a really lovely image there. That's sort of like a journey. There's like a little light on the boat as well. Let me just quickly look at the book. We have Mists of Avalon, okay, which is literally the where are we? The Mists of Avalon, or the Isle of Avalon. What's happening there? I could have sworn that said mists. There we go. We have it. Apologies. We're nearly there. 52. Okay. The Mists of Avalon, which is this card here. And we're dealing with the emotional well-being, the changes in the lifestyle. Okay. So the mists of Avalon: illusion, transformation, boundary, and enchantment. The mists of enchantment are guardians of hidden realms and doorways to mysterious secret places. Be awakened to the call of destiny. You are enchanted with the potential of what your life could look like with a renewed appreciation of life. Listen to your inner voice. You have the magic inside you to manifest joy, success, and satisfaction. You have the magic inside you to manifest joy, success, and satisfaction. Which I would probably like to say is not necessarily dependent on a big income. So the card of the Mist of Avalon appears when you are ready for the enchantment to begin. Mist is an element combining air and water that gives cover and creates the desired illusion. The story of Excalibur is entwined with mist. Arthur was taken away on a barge by the priestesses in a mist, hidden from his enemies who would follow him, and taken to a special place in the other world. Are you struggling to see clearly what's ahead of you? You are already creating a new direction in your life. Only the end point is not yet visible, which is very true about what we're talking about. This lifestyle changes. We don't know what's coming, but there is something that we need to start embarking on. Okay. Your otherworldly vision of what is possible to create for yourself is only limited by your own fears and old belief systems. Remain open to surprises and opportunities. Trust in the Lady and the magic of Avalon to keep you safe. Take a leap of faith into the enchanted world that is unknown. And that is what happens if all of a sudden you have a really big income and then you don't have a big income. It can be emotionally like ungrounding, and it's the unknown. Okay, this is change. This is the process of change, and lifestyle change. Okay, is the unknown to some extent. When the Lady of Avalon parts the mists, she creates an enchantment to protect the hidden realms of the sacred isle. The card of the Mists of Avalon asks you to undertake a journey of self-discovery, which is what they're saying for your for an emotional process. Start doing your own self-discovery journey, okay? Which will help you to sustain any emotional things that might be out there that are going to affect you, okay? Make choices, because it will make you stronger inside. That's what I'm trying to say. Your self-discovery will help you more centered and stronger in yourself. That's what you want. That's what this journey is about. Make choices only because it is your will to do so, and not because you want to create an illusion of success and happiness for the approval of others. You don't want that. You want to do it for yourself only. Put your faith in invisible forces that require only your willingness to be open-minded and to trust. The card of the Mists of Avalon requires you to cut through the mist and see the reality and consequences of all your choices and actions. The Lady of Avalon will greet you when you reach the shores, inviting you to taste the fruit of ancient wisdom. Once the mist of illusion is lifted, you let go of your self-doubts. Remember that you are greater than you think you are. You will have a major change in perception and a sense of new direction once the mists of doubt and uncertainty are lifted. That is awesome. The mist of illusion is lifted. That to me is speaking a little bit like, basically, the idea that the internet is essential for life is a bit of an illusion. Okay, because they're saying to me that basically on an emotional level, the addiction comes into it, and that this emotional addiction to the internet is a huge thing that people need to start preparing themselves for releasing of it, of the addiction to it, which just simply means bring it into balance. Now, one person's idea of balance might not be the same as another person's idea of balance. Okay. But you might have to talk about it with people and just go, how much screen time do you do? Oh, about probably 6 hours a day. Oh, okay. Do you do anything else? Not much. Okay. Right, so and it's all about the self-discovery. So at the moment, because we have screens, we have a relationship with our screen, it's providing us with everything that we want. Okay. It can give us some tools to help with our self-discovery, but we have to also be able to put it to the side and actually go and do our own self-discovery for ourselves without our little companion screen with us. Okay? Which is about releasing the addiction and going on your own self-discovery journey. I'm just talking about life in general, right? But in terms of lifestyle change, it all comes down to time, doesn't it? How much time do we spend doing stuff? Do we balance our time out doing, things that are good for us? Good for our soul, good for our spiritual growth, our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, and our mental well-being. Okay. So yeah, that's that one. Now, let us go to spiritual. I'm just going to have to grab some water. This is really long today. Oh my god, maybe 3. I want to finish at 3, but not to be. It's going to be finishing later. Oh my god, this is to do with spiritual. Oh my god. Celtic gods and goddesses, what are you doing to me? Pook. Fear. Now, I think he's a Mayan dude being in the underworld. And this is on spiritual. Okay, let's come back to our Pook. Oh, this looks more like on theme. Transformation. Butterfly. Fantastic. Oh. Thank you, Spirit. I'm really glad that's in there, because that really helps with having that little dude there. Now, let's look at this one. I'm actually going to flip it over. We have 8 of Swords, which is the 8 is a number of it's like it's a stable number, but there's so it's to do with things have been established, but it's kind of like things have become a little bit stale or stagnant. Swords is intellect, so it's to do with thinking, and yeah, so people have become a little bit stagnant in their thinking with regard to spirituality. And it's interesting how that's a man and a woman, so it's even masculine and feminine implied. Okay. That what people have to work now to overcome is this stagnating attitude towards our own masculine and feminine aspects. These are actually turning away from one another. Okay, spiritually, they actually need to be coming together. Okay, But once again, this is to do with the intellect. It's to do with overthinking that causes stagnation, that is not conducive to this that we had earlier, which was really a beautiful image in the mental stack, which was this. It's the direct opposite. So they're saying that this is happening, and it's not conducive to it's not conducive to spiritual growth. That actually needs to be transformed somehow. But that there's a lot of fear around it. There's a lot of fear about change. Like, when you become this entrenched in habits and things, that's like really stagnation. Okay, the thought of doing anything different or of looking at something in a different way can actually be quite fear-inducing, because it's almost like this complacency here. This has become, it's a very complacent in terms of spirituality. Okay, but they're saying that even though this is perhaps happening and that there is fear around it, that guess what? There's still a beautiful potential for transformation. We can still turn it around despite that. Okay, this card here we have is it's Lancelot. Okay, I actually read this card last night, and it was to do with his he was obviously devoted to Guinevere, but also devoted to Arthur and serving Arthur. But he had feelings for Guinevere, very strong feelings. And, so what he did spiritually, because he was torn about those two things, okay, he literally just removed himself and sort of made another life for himself, because he couldn't consolidate the two. Because he was torn between his own feelings and his own sense of duty. Okay, so this is kind of what they're sort of saying too, is that out of sense of duty, now people can be stuck in this as a sense of duty, and obviously the pervading the predominant emotion is going to be fear that stops people from moving out of this. Okay. But they're saying that, that if they can get over that fear, it can be very transformative. The other words here around Lancelot are chivalry, romance, devotion, and heroism. So it's interesting that's come up in spiritual. Because a devotion, it's almost like he devoted himself to a spiritual path. And this is what I think it's saying here, is that even if you are in this situation, even if this is a representation of yourself, or if it's you in a relationship, or it's you in a friendship or something like that, okay, that it's not going anywhere, that's stagnating, okay, you can still do your own spiritual work. Okay, take responsibility for your own spiritual well-being, which is what this stack is about. And even though you may have fear about delving into your own spirituality, try and work through it, because fear is really an illusion. Okay, the fear is a bit of an obstacle that really, the only thing that overcomes fear is love. Okay, so basically, Apuk is a Ganesh, fear is an obstacle. Okay, and the interesting thing is it's a very mental obstacle, because we can create all sorts of thoughts, little dramas in our head that cause us to remain in stagnation. We create little defense mechanisms and little scenarios and little avoidance tactics that keep us in stagnation and in a state of non-communication, miscommunication. This turning away is also a little thing that happens when people become addicted to screens, or they become more involved with their screen than they do with other people. And I'm sitting here kind of laughing at myself, thinking I'm literally right now talking into a screen, and this is what all us YouTubers do. But like I did say before, sometimes things can be a tool that allow you to express something that you perhaps are not otherwise comfortable to express. There may be fear around it or whatever, but you can use things as a stepping stone. If you have awareness, you can go, okay, at the moment I'm expressing this into a screen, but down the track I will be expressing it with people. And that has already happened in my case. I've actually started to express some of this stuff with other people. Okay? And the other thing too is I did start off doing quite a few days of this a week. And then I had to pull back. I did a whole reassessment and I went, you know what? I think it's getting a bit addictive. And now I put it in my schedule, but it's on set days and it's better. Okay? Because you yourself will know if you feel a little bit manic when you've got to do something, or you might go, look, I think I'm doing this to avoid something else, or I'm kind of doing this a lot in the week. Why is that? So you can work it out for yourself. Just do some stuff have some time out. So that's really beautiful. So in terms of spiritual, I think they're sort of trying to say that the spiritual changes are people having fear around it. Okay. Now, the little list that I made, that they directed me to make, was to do that we need to engage in many more types of meditation. Okay. Now, the card that alludes most to meditation is this one in my mind. And that might be deep conscious relaxation is a type of meditation. It might be, the priestess here, doing something with ritual intent, can be spiritual. Okay. And of course we had Vishnu balance here, doing something physical can be spiritual if you're doing it with the right mindset. Okay. So it's different types of meditation, many types. And they're saying that people will be needing to do those a lot more. Basically, the more types of meditation you can do, the better. Obviously, integrated within your life as well. And spiritually, there's going to be a movement towards increased amount of involvement with, and also improved quality of involvement with, family and friends. Okay. So it's almost saying that all these three cards, if you feel like you're in any of these things, it will be all transformed. Okay. And there's just that mention in there that currently, they even used that little phrase of currently there's a lot of people worshipping the internet. Because basically, the amount of time that you think about something or that you're on something is a little bit like it's not like, okay, I worship you now, internet, oh holy one. But the fact that it's an obstacle to experiencing anything else about yourself, really, to an extent, means that it has the effect of taking over one's energy, because your energy is there a lot of the time. That's where your energy goes. Okay, it's a form of addiction that really is a bit of an obstacle to you experiencing spirituality. Different if you use it as a tool. Okay, You might use it as a meditation tool. For instance, maybe half an hour a night, you might switch on some music on YouTube and listen to that. Use that as a tool to help you do other things in your life. Okay, I think it's a different matter when you're basically switching off everything about your body, about your relating self, about your emotions, and you're just completely in, I'm just going to find out about as much as I can about all this stuff. And then I'm going to try and go to sleep at night, but I'm not going to be able to sleep because I've just spent 6 hours on the internet thinking about all this stuff, and now I can't stop thinking about it. Like, use your awareness. Okay, just try and check in with yourself. The other thing they're saying too is that with spiritually, we're going to be, one of the changes is that we're going to be able to experience other states of consciousness and move into other realms and other higher, different frequencies, which is going to be really transformative. Okay, so we'll be able to shift out of this lower frequency of fear. We'll be able to move up in frequency, okay, to transform it. This one here, even about stagnation, we will actually have start learning all the things that we've just looked at here. We will start to be able to activate a more whole-souled, earth-based, sacred kind of activity that has more intimacy, that will literally turn all of this around. Okay, especially that overthinking. It's really amazing how we've had a lot of swords in here today. Although this we've had pentacles. Hang on a minute, we didn't have a lot of swords, did we? Where did I see the swords come up? Oh my god, that must have been yesterday. But yes, the swords, that's definitely an overthinking. It's almost paralysis by analysis, this one. Okay. The interesting thing is that Galahad has a sword here. So it's almost like if he was that person there and he's just now gone, you know what, I'm just going out on my own now. But it's not really, they're two separate stories. But so that one is about, he's out in nature on a horse, and there's a light there, source light out in nature, which is actually spiritual. Okay. And he also could have, obviously a man of capable of strong feelings, but also of strong principles, which you might go, well, not really. But the thing is, if someone's in love, okay, that's not always something that you can be purely logical about. Okay? Because it can be an all-consuming experience. Okay? And the thing is, we can't really have an all-consuming loving experience if we have addictions to substances and things and activities that are not going to allow us to develop our whole soul. But there we go. So I think that's it for today. Now I kind of wanted to be a little bit more awake for this. I don't know why I've kind of I think I was just blown away by this meditation I did earlier, and I was just like, oh my god. So we've had all these cards here in terms of the lifestyle changes and the processes that we'll be going through. But it's really about they just want me to summarize and just say, it's really about coming back to earth, letting go of addictions, and you can work that out for yourself, what you're addicted to. Okay. Gradual preparation for a time when perhaps the internet won't be around. For instance, what about electricity? It's another thing they've just suggested is if people don't have electricity, thing is, back in the olden days, there wasn't electricity. People had to have, the fires to keep themselves warm, which is probably why, if they're living near like forests and stuff like that, there would have been sustainable practices that would have gone on. People would have needed to stay warm. Okay. And obviously practical things like all the crafts, like sewing. Now this could also be a little hint as to the types of things that they're sort of suggesting, is like sewing. So learning how to make clothes. Okay, maybe knitting. So knitting, making beanies, making jumpers and things like that. And growing your own vegetables. Okay, try and doing it's almost like survival crafts, so that if something does happen down the track and you might be uprooted and you might have to move or go somewhere, you've actually got some skills. Obviously, if you're like a builder and you can build things, that's pretty awesome, because you know how to construct something. You can actually, whip up a quick shed or a bit of a lean-to. And obviously cooking is a bit of a thing. Knowing how to grow fruits and vegetables is good. It might also pay to like keep a little some seeds, plant seeds. What else could we do? Other thing is like being able to play a musical instrument. It might pay to actually learn how to play a musical instrument, or maybe just acquire for yourself, a few really prized books or things that you like to keep or look at. Special sacred objects for yourself. Now, that's not to say they're not going to be saying, well, that all of a sudden everyone's going to have to leave their homes. It's really just to kind of get people into thinking like, how am I going to come back down to earth? How to ground and center. Okay, and this is what they're sort of saying to me. It's like, at the moment there are a lot of people mentally in fantasy. Okay, and they are disconnected from their bodies. So what they need to do is to come back into the body energetically, let go of the addiction to fantasy. Okay, come in, center energetically, ground with the earth, do something practical that's going to assist them in living, that has meaning. So if you're cooking, using food from your garden, that has meaning because you're going to be eating that food. Okay, it's about creating meaning and connection. But one of the main things they're saying is being able to connect with other people. Okay. That's quite a big thing, because there's a huge thing at the moment where people are having to be isolated, right? That they're saying there is going to be a time when then that won't have to be anymore. But they're trying to say that if you feel that you're becoming addicted, is to just kind of addicted to, or really used to just being isolated or whatever, just be aware that it won't be going on forever, and that when you come out of that, try not to, as a result of that, then have an addiction to screen or whatever. They're sort of saying be mindful to keep it in balance with other things that you can do that will help you holistically, okay? That will help you spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. This is the longest video ever. I can't believe it. I apologise for the length. We will see you next time, and thank you very much for the oracle messages that the Celtic god and goddesses energies have offered us today. Bye. See you next time.